Okay, my outstanding friends, this is Roger once again, and I am going to have a good time with this because I am going to peer review myself. Because nobody has similar competencies to me. Peer review is the evaluation of work by one or more people with similar competencies as the producers of the work, which are the peers. It functions as a form of self-regulation by qualified members of a profession within the relevant field. Every relevant field there is, I claim, is wrong. That's my statements. I'm going to close the case at that. Geology is wrong. Physics is wrong. Space is wrong. Quantum is all wrong. Understanding of light is wrong. Our history is wrong. So who's going to peer review me? Not a single person will do it, so I will do it for myself. Today is all about Roger. Okay, my outstandingly wonderful friends. Today is going to be a day of validation. Now, I have been getting attacked for forever, literally, for all my opinions and research on things that upset mainstream. And this goes back to August of 2014. In desperation, I wrote to David Attenborough, who is one of the top researchers in the world of biology and all of that, history, and he didn't know anything about the mud fossils, and he wasn't interested. He didn't understand that the stuff that I was showing he's called it recent entombment, and he wanted stuff millions of years old. Well, that's all up for discussion, but he was so nice to write back to me. But again, this goes back to August of 2014. Now, at the same time, I decided I was so fed up with mainstream at that point. I wrote this book about Velikovsky, who was destroyed by mainstream for presenting evidence, basically the same stuff I presented, only his stuff, he didn't have any physical things like goose heads and mud fossils to present along with it, and DNA and CAT scans. I had all that stuff, and I was still destroyed, and I'm still destroyed to today. So this was about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I put this book out called Minds in Collision. It's Velikovsky, mud fossils and Velikovsky and Minds in Collision. And I go about the discovery of mud fossils a few years ago, led on a journey that can only be discovered as wild and crazy. And then it goes on from there. And the things I have discovered are absolutely insane. I agree. That is not the point. The point is they are true. Now, I was attacked by another geologist on a show the other night, and I want to address every point that he made, and I'm going to do them one by one. And today we are going to do blood on a counter, fire in the skies. Okay, my friends, I decided to go a different route. Today I am going to do everything just about me. It's going to be about my past, what I have done in my life, because I have no awards, no documents that prove that I'm anybody. All I can do is show you what I did in my life. And every day I get this, oh, who are you? You're nobody. You're nobody. You don't have any PhD. You don't have any of this. You didn't read these books. I read everything. Trust me, I went to all of these different schools. I've gone to the University of Geneva, Johns Hopkins, Rice University. I've taken all kinds of courses online. And I never paid for one of them because I took them through Coursera, or you can just go right to, like, Yale has all kinds of courses. I did all the quantum stuff at Yale, and I just go there to find out how wrong they are. And they are all wrong. And even the one at Yale, you go there, if you look up quantum double slit experiment, he starts off by saying, we got no idea what we're doing, just do what I tell you and you'll be okay. Because nobody understands it. And you can't understand it because it just doesn't make any sense. Light accelerates, light slows down, light splits, all these kind of things. And they won't listen to a word. So today it's all about me. If you want to watch, fine. If you don't, we'll be doing blood on the counter, fire in the skies in the next one. And then after that, they'll just be coming rolling like a steamroller down a hill. Okay, so it's all about me today because every day I get, what was your peer-reviewed papers? Who's following you? Who's doing it? Well, nobody is. Nobody cares because I don't have any peer-reviewed papers. They won't let me into the system. I'm not part of their flock of sheep. I will not allow myself to just parrot what they say, and I've never been able to do that. And this goes back. I was in the Army in 1968. I serviced Nike Hercules missiles. Now, when I got out of the Army, I was going to go into physics, and finally I just, you people are insane. I just got out of it. And I went into electronics. Now, I was in Victor Business Machines, and it was a subsidiary of Walter Kidder Corporation. Roger Spurgeon's Connecticut Yankees finished the last quarter with a combined quarter profit objective astounding 360%. They could receive their plaque and all that business. Well, this is 1978, and nobody knew how to do. This was just when electronics was coming on board. They were cash registers before that. They were actually boom, and the drawer would pop open. They'd put the money in. The end of the day, they'd hit a button, and boom, there's the totals. Well, when this came about, nobody knew how to fix them. That's why I did so good, because at 300, I was a field engineering manager. Now. So I was doing well, but they ended up giving me a hard time for a lot of reasons. But anyway, I left there and I decided to start my own business, and I did. Now, this right here, this brings back a lot of memories, because this, you see, this is a regular old tube TV, monitor. That right there is a chip burner. And that's a chip. I don't know if you can see it. We used to call it, well, they're called EPROMs, electronic, erasable, programmable, read-only memory. Now, I had a ultraviolet light. You take the little mask off the chip, and you can see the chip and all the little legs coming out of it, all the little wires coming out of it, going over to the legs, and you can see the actual chip in there. And you wash it out, I can't remember how long, but you put it in an ultraviolet light for, I don't know, a couple of minutes, not very long. And it completely washes all of the programming out of the chip. It's absolutely insane. And then you put it into this little machine here. It's a chip burner. And you put it in, and you just pull the lever down, and it locks the legs in. And you plug in the computer from all of the programming we did. We had our own program. This is all my shop and stuff. This was really early. I had all the equipment. I had a dual trace oscilloscope, and this was the program that we developed to go along with cash registers and scales and remote printers and kitchen printers, and all that stuff was all involved, and it was all tied together, and we could do all our own programming and build our own system, and we did, and it was powerful as hell. It was so powerful that Sharp ended up buying it to show in their world headquarters, to show off their equipment. Here's my old motorcycle. And here's me and my wife. She got a lot older looking now. No, I'm just kidding you. She actually looks just about the same. Anyway, that's and this was the system we came up with. So today's my day for bragging. You want peer review? Peer review was, if you could make a system like this, and we did. We built this system from nothing. It was just a blank screen, and hooked into cash registers, into cameras, the cameras into the text overlaid. When they rang something up, I don't know if you can see it in here. You probably can't see it. I got some cards around here somewhere, some of my old cards that show it better. But everything they rang up, all of this stuff would overlay right across as they're ringing up. You could see, is it what they rang up, what they gave out? At the end of the day, it was all totals of everything. This goes back to when there was no child left behind. I called this version 4, no feature left behind. Credit card processing, gift card processing. Look at this. We would give them 30 days. Just give them the cash register. Here, You try it. If it doesn't work, give it back to us. 30 days, and all of their inventory would be built right into it. All they'd have to do is scan something, and as soon as it went in, they'd put in $6.95 and hit grocery, and from then on, every time they'd scan that thing, it would know exactly what it was, because we had all the barcodes built in of all the products that you could scan. So they didn't have to do anything. And then they'd go around with a little handheld thing, they'd go to their shelves and go, boop, 27 of these, boop, 15 of these, boop, boom, download. That starts their inventory. And then they had purchase order points. These are all the things that this system did. And we created this. Scott Cook was the programmer. He was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Every store that you could think of, and every cafeteria, and restaurants, and catering, and self-service, and had customer orders, and purchase order processing, all that was done, built right into it. And they could use these in a matter of minutes. Home of the retail appliance. I love this stuff. I had such a good time. And so anyway, that's my peer review. Where's their evidence to show that they have even done anything? As far as I could see, if you really break it down, and I do, as I showed you, I go deep. And if they want to go deep with me, let's get into it. Because I like to go as deep as you can go with everything. Now, this is going to be debate and discussion, and it's going to be Ra and I, it's Ralph Castaldo, and he's been given shows, and he's pretty much into a lot of these guys that are talking about things that they really don't understand. They're aliens and all that kind of stuff. But all of that stuff needs to be investigated. All right, if there's evidence, which now we know there's no question there's evidence. I mean, I have evidence all over the place that there was aliens here. I'll show you one right now. And then we're going to go into, this runs a little longer than I thought. So we're going to go into the blood on the waters, fire in the sky, blood on the shelf, on the counter, fire in the sky. And Velikovsky said, the skies combusted, the earth wrenched, the oceans boiled, mud fossils were formed. I don't think he actually said mud fossils were formed, but that's exactly when it did happen. All right, if I'm bragging, I'm going to go all the way. Remember I told you this paper, or I will show you, this is called Light is the transfer of energy is from light into atomic vapor. Atomic vapor means it makes atoms. They knew this because they can break apart all these particles and see these tiny, tiny little bits and pieces. So their protons are obviously not right. We crash the particles together and emit the showers and all this stuff, exactly what they want to see. Now, here's the deal. And this goes back to when I was presenting my stuff about this, about that everything had to be a dipole. So the case for studying photon collisions, this goes back to 1978. The physics of photon collisions has been a topic of some interest for many decades, 50 years or more. Indeed, a special meeting in 1978, right around the time when I was touting this has to be a dipole particle, which everything has to be made of. Like I showed you, this is what all matter is made of. Each one of these is a little magnet, and that's what every electron is. It has a dark side and it has a light side. The dark side, whoops, nobody's ever seen before. See, it's gone already. Nope, here, we found the dark side. All right, this is the dark matter. And two of these back to back, one this side and one this way, stuck together is a photon. Photons will bang into something, bounce off. They don't come back at the same speed they hit, because it depends on what they hit, how hard it is, how reflective it is, and all that business. So that's what makes light. We can see different colors. But the particle itself is the same particle for every different color. It's just how fast is it spinning and how hard is it coming back at us. All light is energy. It depends on how, just vibration is energy. That's energy. Energy! Any vibration whatsoever is energy. It doesn't matter. And if you're at the speed of light energy, now you got something you can work with, and then you can split these particular particles running through the Venturi, as I showed, which created the electron collisions. We collided the electrons together. Because these are electrons, two of them together make a photon. It's as simple as that. You see this? It was first proposed to do this type of physics at the Large Hadron Collider many years ago. It never materialized because of peer review. Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. I don't listen, the guy's crazy. 40 years. All right, remember I said this brings back some memories? Boy, it sure does. These are what the integrated circuit chips look like. Now, this one is the EPROMs, the erasable, programmable, read-only memory. That means once you program this chip, you can't change the chip program without erasing it, and you have to use ultraviolet light to erase the PROM, and then they put a mask over the top of like a little piece of silver tape usually, and the light can't get through to damage the program. And I had my own chip burners, and I had all that stuff. We used to do all our own programming. We built our own thing right from scratch. Now, I was the first one in the country to work on electronic equipment, which were calculators. The first things that came in were electronic calculators. They were starting to try to use these chips to make these calculators work. And before, adding machines were really big, clunky things that had motors in them and all kinds of type sectors and all that. Now, so they came out with the electronic stuff. I was the first one to deploy it in Connecticut, USA. And I got them in, and it was fall. It was cold. And we had a bunch of guys that took them, we tested them all out, and you put the test tapes in the box to show that it was working, and then you go deliver it. So they all took them home at night, and they brought them into the offices the next morning, all over the state, really. And as soon as they plugged them in, they exploded. They literally exploded. And what happened was that chip inside exploded from a surge of electricity. And why would it surge? It was working perfect in the shop. Well, they had them in their cars at night, and it was cold. It was real cold. So let's say they were freezing. What would that do to the flow of energy? Well, this is what I found out. It increased it. I think it was like 5 times. I had oscilloscopes and all kinds of stuff back then, and I had a full shop of everything, and we tested it under certain temperatures, and I believe the amperage went up like 5 times. And what I discovered was the voltage they were using for the chip wasn't 5 volts, which is what they use now. It was 17 volts. When I first came in, they were at 17 volts. And it's too much voltage. So voltage is pressure, push. 5 volts is like this. 17 is pretty hard. Now, if you don't have any resistance, is how much it pushes back. So at room temperature, you have quite a bit of resistance. But at 32 degrees, there's very little resistance. 5 times as much current could flow through that unresistive chip, and it's just too much. The wires inside these little tiny circuits are too small. Boom! It exploded, and the tops of the chips just blew right off. I'm not kidding. It was and they freaked out. Well, they fixed it. I mean, it was like within days they had them working at 5 volts. I don't know why they started out at 17, and I can't remember whether it was just driver chips, and it might have been just driver chips, because the driver chips ran little motors and solenoids and things that required some pretty serious power. And it might have been just the driver chips, I can't remember, but every chip has the same circuitry like that inside of it, and legs that say go to pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, of the wires that we had dot matrix firing, print, and it would print out words by wires shooting in and out. And I think that's what it was the driver chips. Anyway, I'm telling you, this brings back a lot of memories. Then we had the static problems. Oh man, that was a nightmare. I'm telling you, I love this stuff though. the people would wear these silk skirts and stuff like that to register, cash register people. And they'd walk around with, you know, leather shoes. Back then, they were pretty well dressed as cashiers. I'm telling you, it was a whole different world. And they had leather shoes, they had silk underwear and all this stuff, you know. They were dressed up pretty fancy. And they'd get all charged up. They'd touch a button and the machine would explode. Because a little, instead of 5 volts coming in there, they get 1,000 volts would hit, and the machine would go into re-enter because it would lose its process of the program. It wouldn't destroy it, but it would be enough to scramble the program. Boy, I tell you, things are coming back to me. All right, I'm sorry.